Hello, I am Phoenix, and I'm going to give you a little um class course tips, as you will, about comics. To give a little bit of context, I am not shooting from my hip. I am not someone that just doesn't know what they're talking about. I have a little bit of history with comics. I studied them in uni. It's one of the things that I have seen the most, and it's probably one of my favorites. So I'm going to just share the information that was given to me in these multiple classes, because it wasn't just only one. It was both theoretical, social, and practical. So I know quite a bit. But now I just want to focus on the simple aspect of framing and storytelling just by the way that your comic is made. Not only the pictures and stuff like that, mostly just the flow of every vignette, if you will say. Because each square, each panel that you draw is usually called a vignette, at least in French. I don't know how that would be in English. I see all my classes in French, so yeah, that's a little introduction on this. It's literally just to give you tips to make your comics a little bit more interesting, a little bit more yeah, nice to look at, more to be like, wow, okay, this is a smart way to tell the story, instead of just being the boring squares, one next to the other, one large rectangle below it, and then just one big square underneath to show like a bigger frame. No, I'm going to teach you how to make it more dynamic. At least give you a little bit of tips in how to make your comics just look more alive, look more refined. So I'm going to just scoot over just a little bit and bring the pictures. So I want to start with this one. Is a comic made by a woman. I want to point that out. I forgot her name. I have her on my notes. That's why I was able to find it back. But the comic is called Rocket Girl. And I think it's a very, very, very good example of how you can make your comics a lot more interesting. Because if you look over here, in this place right here, you can see that our main character, she is jumping out of a window. And the way that they made that, it's playing with each vignette to show that. Like, here is this foot, and then she's gone. And the friend just picking over. So yeah, this is one of the ways that you can do to make your comics look more alive, add a little bit more of movement, and also there's a great circle over here, so that is also very cool. Just to add a little bit more of visual language, and also there's a lot of white space. I know that many people will want to feel everything. I'm going to tell you, you don't need to feel everything when you make a comic. Sometimes it's even beneficial not to do so, depending on what you want to tell. I understand if it's like a comic that needs to feel oppressive. If that's the case, fill it up. Try to keep it square. Don't go for soft shapes. Go for harsh, and try to fill it as much as you can. Try to make it as tight as you can. Do not let any space for the reader to just breathe. Don't let them breathe. I don't think I have an example of that, but I know there's comics that were made about the Gaza issue around the 90s. You could look up for those. They have very interesting visual language as well. I remember that in one of them, I don't quite recall the name, but they literally put the boots of the Israeli soldiers on top of a vignette that is just the people from Palestine. So I think that is a very strong visual language that you could also take reference to. This little thing, very cool, very nice. Use it. Don't keep it just this and nothing else. These are good. Okay, you can do this, but don't do it on all your page. Try to make some variation, add flavor. Also, it's nice that this is like not completely straight. It's more like sudden. Like she just whoop picked out in a frame of a second. That is also like very cool. You can use angular lines like this to show sudden movement, something that happened in a second. Very cool, very nice. So now I'm just going to show you some of my work as a reference. Because, oh, there's another Rocket Girl. And this one I picked it out because the framing here is in a similar shape of the back of the car, of the window of the car. So that one is also something that you can do if there's like a window, a mirror, something like that. You can use the same shape to make like a vignette and just add it in the middle, slap it somewhere, and it would always look good. Like this is the easiest thing that you can do to make your comics look interesting. Just mirror, window, cut the shape, slap it somewhere. It's going to look interesting. It's going to look very, very fun. So, as I said, I'm going back to the stuff that I made so I can give you some reference. So, one of the first things that you need to have in consideration when making a comic is that all your pages need to align. They need to connect in one way or another. They need to flow. Because otherwise, the story is going to feel like it's missing something. So you need, what I'll suggest is when you are first sketching your ideas, make it in one big page. Like pick an A3 page and just draw all your ideas in it, or just do smaller normal printing papers and just draw them all together, or as together as you can, one next to the other or one underneath the other. Doesn't matter. It just matters that you are able to see everything in one single view. So here is the sketch of the comic that I made not that long ago for one of my classes. So you can see I made 5 pages. They're all in one single sheet of paper. So you can see here, I sketched all my ideas out. I made all the vignettes the way that I thought that would be interesting. And it got approved, because that's something that I needed to do. I needed to have my teachers approve it. And they did. So, all because I actually... I was cheap. I didn't want to use 5 sheets of paper for just a sketch, so I just did it on one. And at the end, that was like very good. The teachers were just like, yeah, this is a very good idea to actually keep in mind everything that you need to do and to make sure everything flows. So that's a good thing, a very good thing. So once you have all of this done and you are pleased with the result, you can start just inking. Here's the... Well, I didn't ink them. I started straight up for the big sketches, because something that I don't think a lot of people tell you is that you are not supposed to sketch on your final piece. I think a lot of artists just don't do it. They have like one of these luminous sheets, like LED lights, to be able to trace over their sketches. And that is something very good to have if you are going to make comics, at least in a semi-serious way. You need to have, well, that LED light to be able to trace it properly, so you are not stuck against the window, have limited hours to work on, and just it's a lot of freedom. Even just a small one, I have like one that is like A4, and I usually work with A3 papers, and the A4 just works just fine. It's alright, it's manageable, and I think it's even somehow easier because I don't need to break my back trying to find a place to put it. So yeah, I would recommend getting one of those. Even the cheapest one work wonders. So yeah, that's a little tip. So yeah, you can see here in my sketches, I try to make it as clean as possible because I was going to ink them straight into the final paper after this. So I would recommend that this sketch has to be as clean or as understandable for you as possible. Or as understandable as for the next person that is going to work on it, if you are 2 people or more working on this. Working on the comic, I mean. So you can see that you can tell the details. I know the quality shit. Yeah, my phone is not the greatest with pictures, but you can tell that there's quite an amount of detail. Like here I made like a screen instead of just making lines, and then I separated each vignette using wires, and I also made them pop out a little bit of where they should be. The cables also like not really following the lines, just making it as organic and messy as I can to just give the introduction of what is going to be the story about. Because this is my first page. This is the first impression. And I didn't make like a front page. It was just a page, so it was very important to have this first impression. So yeah, for the next page, I separated each vignette with one triangle just here. And I separated the scenes. Like this scene over here is supposed to be a hospital, and here is out in the street with other bodies supposedly laying over here, as well as the main character. So, So yeah, this type of vignette of framing is also like very cool. It's one full page. I don't have any margins on this, but I also made sure to put all the characters and all the important stuff as close to the center as possible, so they wouldn't get cut out in the scenario that I needed to publish this, which I probably won't. This is just uni homework. So yeah, that's also something that you need to keep in mind. If you're going to make a comic, don't put much detail on the borders. Try to keep them as clear as possible, even if you make a full page or 2 full pages. Try to move everyone and everything as close to the center as possible. Like, this is your area of work. You don't go for the borders. So yeah, there's that. Here is like a more simple frame. This is like the traditional one, but you would usually see everywhere. The thing is, I have these 2 dudes here, and this makes a nice transition into the lower section. So that is something that you can do. Just add a character, just pops out. There's no line here. There's nothing separating him from this scene. Literally, what is separating him is his own face, his own silhouette. nice. Nice to see, nice everything. And then his silhouette connects to the other guy. Simple. Very simple, very nice. Very pretty. Very demure. So yeah, that is also something very easy that you can do to give a little bit of more life. And just cool visual language. Here. I think this is the page where I added the most visual language because it's very cramped, it's very tight. As I said previously, if you're going to make something that is supposed to be a life or death situation, you need to fully commit to it. So that's what I did here. So here is the police coming in to take these two guys. So what I did was put the feet of the police on top of them, and as well, one of the weapons pointing at them. Easy enough. I know that most people wouldn't even think about this the first time reading something like this, because it would be like, yeah, I just want to see what happens next. But it's a little detail that goes a long way for the people that actually pay attention and take a time to analyze what is happening. And it's something that I learned to appreciate at this ripe age of 22. So it's something nice to have in mind. As well, here I added something just to make like a big bang, because this is supposed to be the moment when they get a rain of bullets upon them. So here's them both hiding. This is supposed to be the same scene, these two sides. And this is like all the same background in all of these. So what I did is literally break the scene in the middle where they would meet to add them hiding together. And then in the final comic, I added like bubbles making the sound of the gunshots and all of that. And then just them hiding, them getting surprised. There's nothing more there. And here is the final page, which is enough, it's only like 3 vignettes. So their faces surprised, the signal of something falling, and then just the head of one of the policemen. And it's the same pose everywhere, just to show that it was something quick, but it happened in like a quick session. It's not something slow, it's just like, paf! There it is. Head. Something that they barely had any time to react to. And then the head. I'm mixing languages. Anyways. So yeah. The head is here, and that connects to the head of the character over here, right next to each other, just to make the transition a little bit smoother. And then their bodies like nest shaped to make it interesting to go down, just to see everything, because it's like the biggest, the second biggest vignette I have, because this is one whole page. So this is the second biggest, the reveal of what happened to this guy right here. So yeah, that's the sketch. And here's the finished one. I have the like close-up better there. Just yeah, it's pretty much the same. I didn't change anything from here to there. It's exactly the same. But yeah, I did play with the colors a little bit. I played with textures. I played with making collage and stuff, burning the paper even here. So really shows that you can do anything You can do absolutely anything. Anything you want. Anything. So, yeah, just play. I know there's like, I have brought up a lot of theoretical stuff, but literally just you know this, and then you can have fun. Because, well, you can even have fun with theory and stuff like that. Just framing everything in a way that is fun to you and that you find amusing, that you find interesting to look at. Do it. It's way better than just chopping rectangles and gluing them. It will take you longer, but the result is going to be a lot better, and it's going to be a lot more interesting to look at. So, yeah. Here's another example that I have. Another sketch of a comic that I made, I believe, like a year ago, roughly. And there's literally just perspective. It's a whole lot of perspective and rooms. There's like one single here with like a triangle here shows us the happening of something happening suddenly. But yeah, there's not much. And here's like the finished product. Like, this is more of what you would usually see pretty much everywhere. So yeah. And also this was my first comic that I made during university. So I need to fix it. I am not really proud of it, but I think that there's a whole lot of good stuff that people can take reference to. I think it's nice. It still holds up quite well. And here's like a page that I didn't finish. It's just inking. So yeah. And also, just to mention, I inked this with a quill and ink. Just how they would do it professionally. At least in the older times. Right now it's all digital. Pretty much everything is digital. But in the 90s, 80s, it was just like quill, brushes, ink, and yeah. But it would be like separate people making everything. Like one does the sketch, other does the inking, other does the painting. So here's another sketch that I made for one of the comics. I don't think I have the finished result. It's somewhere on my Instagram and I'm too lazy to fetch the photo. But yeah, you can see that all the great areas at the end were going to be black, as the same color as the line art, just to add more dramatism. So this is another way if you want to like make a sketch and you don't want to fully commit on doing the inks without knowing where you want the shadows. Just make the sketch, grab it, and then just go with a lighter marker or watercolor and go over it, so you can have a rough idea of how you want the shadows to go. Where do you want the placement? And you can see that this one is also like very angular. There's like a lot of very sharp shapes here. So that's also something that tells a lot of snappiness. Very quick succession. Not much time to breathe. Well, there's a lot of time to breathe. There's a lot of white space on this bad boy. So yeah. Here's the finished result. It's all in French, obviously. I needed to make this in French. You can see here that I made a TV with pieces of newspaper. I use newspaper pretty much for everything. I use the cables. I use newspaper for the cables. Also for the picture here showing the guy who died. Newspaper. here I burned the page. Here you can see more properly the transition, because I color coded everything. So yeah, that's also like something that you need to keep in mind. The meaning of colors, the theory of colors. What do you want each color to represent? How are you going to tell stories through colors? Because here I just like the chaotic area. I use a very sick tone of green, almost yellow, to show that is a disgusting environment, something that you cannot really breathe in. And then for the news I use red to show that is, you know, socialism. And then for the base of the rebels I use like a very cold blue, almost soothing, to show that it's like a safe space for those that are running away, that do not want to submit to the government. So yeah. And here I just did the comparison of the outside world versus the base of the rebels. I think it was nice. And also, instead of drawing gods, I just burned the paper because I didn't feel like drawing it. Even though I know how to draw gods, but I just didn't feel like it. So I burned the paper, and that gave me some points. People really like that. Here I also like on the screens I glue stuff. All the dialogue is also like glued in because I just wanted to focus on the vibes, and later I focus on what they were going to say. That is not how you should supposed to do it. That is a very bad idea. But yeah, I did it still. Don't do like me. Don't follow this. Don't make dialogues like this. It's really not a good idea. And yeah, like if you are not sure where to place the dialogues and the speech bubbles, experiment with it during the sketch. Don't do it like me, that I just had all the pages ready without dialogue, and then I had to like struggle to see where they would fit. Don't do like me. Don't be like me. So yeah. Here's the same thing that I said before. I added here a little bit of flow of green, yellow, also pieces of newspaper with stuff, making it look like, oh, this is a lab. This is a science lab. They are doing atrocities in this fucking lab. And here we go with the one that is like oppressive. I use the 3 colors just to show that there's like an alarm ringing, and that it was like very panicky, very bad situation to be in. So yeah, that's also like very cool, very nice. And here's the final frame. Yay! I would redo this the whole comic because I did it in a rush. I think I did it in like 3 days because I procrastinated, but it didn't matter. What mattered was framing and how the comic will flow, and I got a good grade, so I did my job. So there's that. But yeah, everything that I said before, I just applies to this one because I didn't change anything. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't have much else to say, but yeah. If you have any questions, if you want any suggestion, what I would recommend is just go and reference the masters. Go read comics, go study them, go see how they would do it, how certain scenes were written, and how they were drawn and stuff. Just the same way that people study the great master of Renaissance and Romanticism. you can do the same with comics, because there's, I promise you, it's not shallow at all. People say that art just became more and more shallow as more time it passed, and it is not true. It is not true at all. So go for it. Go read about the comics. Go read how they affected society as itself, and why some stuff needed to change, and why some stuff is the way that it is nowadays. Please go ahead. There's a lot of resources if you really want to commit to working on comics and actually put love and effort into them. So, yeah, that's it. If you have any questions or just anything, I'll be more than gladly to answer or just give recommendations, because at the end of the day, all this video was just recommendation of stuff that I made from my own experience and my own studies. So yeah, I have been talking for far too long. So that's pretty much it. Have a good one. Bye bye.